Right, so trust me on this. This is worth listening to. There is a book that I'm reading at the moment, and there was a certain part of it that I wanted to go through. I'm going to go through the whole book eventually, but there is one bit of it that is absolutely unbelievable, obviously in relation to leadership. So, here's the book. This is if you can see it there, Serve to Lead, which is the book that the officers get at Sandhurst in the UK military. They're given to it to study and read and read and read. It is brilliant. It is a brilliant book. But there's one part. I mean, there's loads of parts that are really good, but there's one bit in particular that I want to go through, and it is called, for anyone that has read it, it is called The Many Forms of Leadership, and it is by Field Marshal the Lord Harding of Petherton, addressing the senior division when CIGS, July 1953. So we're going back a little bit in time, but honestly, this was unbelievable. So I'm going to read you a few bits and then discuss them because they're so good. They're so good. Also, I'm going to leave a few bits out because they're very military specific, and I just want to pick apart the leadership bits. So, straight to it. There are some people who believe that leadership is something which is inborn or which you acquire automatically at a public school, but neither of those things is true. There are certain fundamental qualities which affect leadership and which depend to a very large extent on upbringing and the moral and spiritual values which you learn in your family and in your environment as a young man or woman today. But there is no special way, nor is there any special caste or class which has the prerogative of leadership. So, he's saying no one's born a leader, which I would agree with. No one's born evil. No one's born good or great. Maybe there's an argument somewhere that genetics have a small part to do with it, but let's just say they don't. I don't think. Mostly, it is through circumstance and how you grow up, and kind of agreeing with what I said to a degree. I believe you learn the main core principles through your childhood and teens being especially important. So yeah, next part. There are many forms of leadership. Political parties have their leaders. Every big organisation in industry or commerce all have their leaders. And at the other end of the scale, so do dance bands and so do gangs of thieves and smugglers. There are many qualities that apply equally to every type of leader, but you and I are concerned with one particular type of leadership. To my mind, the highest type of all, and that is leadership on the battlefield. And I believe it to be of the highest type because it has to be exercised under conditions of great difficulty and considerable danger. I would add to that and say pressure. Pressure is the thing which, for me, composure under pressure is something I think is vital in terms of finding true leaders. So, agree fully with this. Continuing on. I would like you to be quite clear about the conditions under which you will have to exercise leadership. You will frequently be tired. You may also be cold and wet and hungry and thirsty. You may be dripping with sweat, or you may be freezing with cold. You won't know precisely what is going on. You won't know exactly where the enemy is. You certainly won't know what he's going to do or what his capabilities are of doing anything. You may not know where your own people are or what they are going to do. To put it briefly, you have got to be able to exercise leadership in conditions of fatigue and fear, uncertainty and ignorance, and often in isolation. That is what makes it extremely difficult, and that is why leadership on the battlefield calls, in my view, for the very highest qualities. Now, one part in this that jumps out to me, and I mean jumps, is where it says, going back a little bit, To put it briefly, you've got to be able to exercise leadership in conditions of fatigue and fear, uncertainty and ignorance, and often, most importantly, in isolation. That, to me, says decisive leadership. Being able to take responsibility, being able to make a decision, live with the consequence. So I think, again, beautiful piece there. Moving on, because it does get juicier. So there's a next paragraph which is very military, very Queen and country, duty to God. Leaving that bit out because it is more about the service of the military man. So this is going back to leadership. So many qualities are required in a leader. Different people have different views about which are more important. In my opinion, there are 5 outstanding mental and physical, moral and spiritual qualities without which you cannot hope to be successful and a good leader on the battlefield. Sorry. The first of those qualities is a mental and physical one, and that is fitness, absolute fitness. So he's put, I've read that wrong, absolute fitness of mind and body. If your brain is not clear, you cannot control it and make it think logically and quickly and come to sound conclusions. Then you cannot make the plans or the decisions that are required of a leader of men in battle. If your body is not absolutely fit so that you can force out of it that last ounce of effort that is needed to carry through your job or to achieve success, well, you won't succeed. So absolute fitness of mind and body is essential. To add to that, I would say when someone shows a figure of fitness, it shows that that person has discipline. It shows that they they can stick to something. They can set themselves goals. They can achieve them. They can plan. So having that fitness says a lot about you. When you meet someone and they are a fit person, not so much when they're in the 20s because everyone's pretty much fit, but someone who is definitely older, and especially someone in a leadership position, if they are fit, then I think subconsciously it makes you respect that person a little bit more for some reason. So moving on. Then I would say that you've got to have complete integrity. You have got to be honest, not only with yourself, but with the men you lead and the people with whom you work. And honesty and integrity are things you cannot compromise with. You cannot alter. If you do, you will lose confidence and you will not be able to lead. You must have complete integrity. I would say that is one of the most important paragraphs I've read on leadership. Genuinely in the past 6 months. And I've read a lot. I would say complete integrity. And I need to promote that more and push that more, because I think it is so underrated, integrity. Moving on. Next, after that, not in any order of priority, but this is how I have put them down to keep them in my own mind, there is an enduring courage. Pretty well everyone can be brave for a few minutes. Most of us can, if we steel ourselves to it, take one plunge, or make one decision, or incur one risk. But the sort of courage you must have to lead on the battlefield is an enduring courage, and one that will go on when other people falter. One that will enable you to do what you know to be right, irrespective of the danger or the difficulty, often contrary to the advice of well-meaning friends. I want to say on that, courage. Enduring courage. So we're not talking courage in the moment, we're talking courage for days, weeks, months. I would say that this is what I've been saying of composure. Being composed in the moment when panic is going on all around you, when, let's say, shit is hitting the fan, you staying composed is priceless. And I believe that is basically exactly the same thing as what he's saying. Enduring courage. Um, they are slightly different. I heard a quote a long time ago that said there was something about you're only courageous. Courage? No, I'm going to butcher this. Let's just. You'll get what I mean. So, bravery is when you do something that you are afraid to do and don't want to do but do it anyway. I'm pretty sure I'm almost saying a Mike Tyson quote there, but about training. But it's to do with bravery. So if you're not scared and you do something. So for example, when someone says oh, that person who's ill, who's in hospital, they're so brave. Well, not really, because they've got no choice in the matter. So they're not brave. They can either give up or carry on. So they're strong, not brave. Brave is I'm scared and I don't want to do something and I have the choice in that moment to not do it and I do it anyway. That's brave. That's courage. This is enduring courage. So this would be consistently having time to think about something, not in the moment, and consistently doing something that you are scared of. So consistently doing it. And I think over time, I was going to say you probably become less scared, but I don't think so. If you're putting your life on the line every day, you probably are pooing your pants every time. But I think doing that every single day is enduring courage. And I think that, you imagine seeing that if your leader was, in a military situation, consistently making decisions, putting their own, not just life on the line, but making decisions which other people would not want to make, but doing it every day. I think that would be very inspiring, if I'm honest. Very inspiring. So fourth quality. Then you must have daring initiative. Initiative means doing right away what you might, if you had time, think of doing a few minutes later. I think that makes sense. If you wait for things to happen to you, they will happen, alright. And here I am quoting the words of my predecessor, also spoken here. They will happen to you, but they won't be what you like, and they certainly won't bring you success. Initiative means seeing at once and very quickly what needs to be done, making up your mind to do it, and then seeing it through right to the bitter end. Decisiveness, if you want to call it that. Making a decision. What is going to happen is going to happen anyway. It's kind of one of those things of if you stay still, you're going to die. If you move, you might die. You move. You need to be able to run the risks. It's kind of like risk management, but instantly, and then making a decision on it. So yeah, decisiveness. Daring initiative, he's called it. So, quality number 5. Then you must have undaunted willpower. The willpower is the motive power. It is what enables you to make yourself fit in mind and body, to produce in you, in your heart, the courage, the enduring courage that I spoke of, to give you the courage to do your duty and to make the sacrifice that may be called from you. It is the willpower that forces you to take the initiative, to make the plan, to do what is required and to see it through. And that willpower must be undaunted. It must never allow itself to be overcome or subdued. It is the willpower that is superior, that can wrest victory in the teeth of odds. That is the type of willpower that has got to be developed in a leader on the battlefield. Willpower. I know what he means by willpower, because I suppose willpower is a forward thinking thing. Discipline, I would say, as well. So discipline is sticking to something that you've already decided to do. I suppose willpower is forcing yourself to do something that you haven't started yet. I think someone might disagree, but strong. 5 strong qualities there. So Moving on. Now I would like you to notice not only the qualities I've mentioned, but the adjectives I have applied to them, because in those adjectives are implied a great many of the other qualities. I spoke of absolute fitness, of complete integrity, of enduring courage, of bold, daring initiative, and of undaunted willpower. And there is a great deal of meaning in the adjectives as well as in the nouns, which I would like you to remember. There are other requirements that are needed as well. There are many of them, but there are three that I would like to mention to you here this afternoon. The first is knowledge. If you are to have the courage to take the initiative to produce the willpower that is needed, you must have knowledge. You must know more than those under your command, a good deal more. You must know the power and the capabilities of the weapons at your disposal. You must know how the other resources that you can rely on to help you can best be used. You must know how much you can ask of your men. You must know what the enemy's capabilities are. You must know how best all arms can cooperate and combine to gain success on the battlefield. You must know how to use the ground and any other aids there may be. You must know what support you can count on from the air and other supporting weapons. All that requires a great deal of study and thought and practice and experience. I'm not trying to undermine that at all, but do you know what that reminds me of? There's a scene in Cool Runnings where I remember the actor's name, Leon, something Leon. I can't remember his name. The main dude in it, the main sprinter. Anyway, so he's the driver, and he has to stay up all night studying the corners and the bends, and I remember that bit where Sanka says, "I'm the best pushcart driver in Jamaica, and I must drive." And I remember as John Candy then gives him some speech about it's all his responsibility, everything is on him. If he makes a mistake, all their lives are in his hands, and he has to stay up studying. He doesn't go out to party, and then I remember Sanka's just like, yeah, let him be the driver. So that reminded me of that. It's study, and it takes a very certain, specific type of person to do that, to study that much. So, second, what did he call them? He said there were three. There are three requirements. So, second requirement. The next quality that I wish to mention is judgment. You have got to have judgment. You have got to be able to assess values and assess them quickly and under difficult circumstances. And that calls for judgment. And judgment is only learned by experience and practice. You will never learn to judge and to assess value if you're afraid of making mistakes. Never. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. You will find the principles of war are frequently in conflict in any particular problem which you may be faced, and you have to weigh up and decide which in the particular circumstances is the more important of the principles, which you can stick to, which you can discard, and that needs judgment. That judgment only comes from knowledge, practice, and experience. Do you know what? Crazily, that paragraph reminds me of jiu-jitsu. Again, I know it's a military thing, but all I could think of then was jiu-jitsu. When you say to people, you might know the moves as a white belt, but when you get to brown belt, black belt, you think differently. You make decisions a lot quicker, and that just comes from making mistakes. The more you make mistakes, the quicker you get better at correcting them. So judgment is the second one. So the third thing I would like to mention this afternoon is the team spirit, because you cannot get success on the battlefield by yourself. You've got to work with other people. You have got, in the first place, to get the full confidence of the men under your command. You've got to train them to work as a team, and you've got to lead them as a team leader. Then your team has to fit in with the other teams, and so on all the way up. and throughout the whole business of life, and training and war. The army, throughout every part of it, has got to work as a number of teams, and these teams have got to work together to one common end. And so the team spirit becomes of supreme importance, and it is only as a member, as a leader of a well-trained, confident, highly skilled team that you can exercise successful leadership on the battlefield. Do you know what I think super interesting about that is if you're in a sporting environment, you have your team, and basically you're against every other team. In this environment, you might compete against those other teams in training, but at the end of the day, you are one team. So if you have your small unit and then you need to go deploy somewhere with another unit and you go together, you might, obviously it's a bad idea if you've never met, but you are the same team, like instantly, because the whole way you have to teach them to not only be a team together, but how to very quickly integrate with other teams. And I think that's such a unique kind of position and attribute that you have to be able to teach them to meet with other teams, and just instantly you have to trust and get rapport, and you have to very quickly build that relationship with that other team. And I think that's a very, very interesting sort of dynamic. I mean, kind of off topic a little bit, I remember years ago the England football team didn't win anything when they should have, and they had Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Rio Ferdinand, all that sort of era. And I remember hearing a thing about the reason England didn't really win is because when they met up as the England team, you had a very small, I suppose, selection of teams that the players were chosen from. So you had your Manchester Uniteds, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, those sort of teams. And from all the different interviews that I've heard, they used to say that they were very cliquey. And it was because people like Sir Alex Ferguson, people like that, would teach those players to hate the other teams. You know, they Liverpool and Manchester United hated each other. They really did. They didn't get on. And they were taught to be like that. There was a lot of aggression, a lot of hostility between the players. So when they met up, yeah, they were representing England, but I think they didn't gel as a team. They didn't work as a team because they had so much, if you want to call it, subliminal hate between the cliques. You might have a clique of 4 here and a clique of 4 here and another 5 here and another 4 here, and it just didn't work. Whereas today, you have a lot of different groups of players where not only are they from different teams. I remember it was, don't quote me on this, it was something like, was it Italy 2020 maybe? No, that's not right. I think it was, but it was in 2021. I can't remember. Around that time. And I want to say England got to the final and they were playing well. And I remember someone said that it was the first time in, don't quote me on this, maybe 30 years that no player from Manchester United or Liverpool was in the starting lineup. And when you looked at the clubs of the players, there were maybe something like 8 clubs. I mean, you had Declan Rice and, what's his name, Phillips. Not Kevin Phillips, that's going back in time. Calvin Phillips? I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was playing for Leeds at the time. So you had Leeds and West Ham in the centre of midfield. That was unheard of. You had Harry Kane, who was Tottenham. Saka was Arsenal. And that would have never happened back in the day. Tottenham and Arsenal, they hated each other. Who was the one? Mason Mount, I'm sure, was Chelsea at the time. So there was a big mix. And the crazy thing is that all these players now, they're all friends with each other. They're all friends with each other on Instagram. They're all chatty after the game. They're chatty, and then you get the old school pundits that are like, "Why are they chatting? Why are they friends? They should be killing each other." So, I think I know it was a little bit off topic, but the mindset of creating your team to be super competitive with the other teams, I think you've got to be careful with that, because if you go too super competitive, you as the leader, you can create that within your team. So Sir Alex Ferguson did that, but did he care about England? Did he fuck? To him, it was about Manchester United completely. So I think managers today, they don't instill that in their players, which means England do better, and all the other nations, they do better because the players are a lot friendlier and that hostility isn't there. But the managers of yesteryear didn't care. They wanted the players to hate each other so they would win and push harder, and that competitive spirit. So yeah, it reminded me of that, but I think that is very much in the leader's control and the leader's power to create that atmosphere and that team spirit. As he says, I think team spirit, you are in control of that as a leader, and it's vital. So this next section here reminds me of if you've ever listened to Jocko Willink, the video that he does, Good, about when one of his subordinates comes to him and says, "I didn't get this, I didn't get that," and he says, good, train, do better. Kind of reminded me of this paragraph, so I'll read you it. "There is one other thing that I would like to say to you. As British officers, you will never have all you want, all you need. You will be short of this, or that, or the other. Sometimes you'll be short of men, at other times your equipment or weapons may not be as good as you think they ought to be, nor will you have as many as you would like. You may be short of ammunition. You may also be short of food and water or other necessary things. When these circumstances arise, as they will do often throughout your service, both in peace and war, there is only one motto, and that is to make certain that you do the very best you can with what you've got. Don't bellyache about what you have not got, but get on and make certain that you do your utmost with what you have got. It is very important for British officers in whatever arm or branch of the service they may be to make up their minds that this is what they will always do, and that is what I hope all of you here will always make your motto in the years to come. Quit bitching, get on." I love it, to be honest. That stoicism, if you want to call it that, just get on with it. Keep going, get on with it, we'll find a way. I do love that. Yeah, one last paragraph just to finish up what he said. So, now to sum up what I've tried to say to you this afternoon, I would like to put it like this. First, keep fit. Absolutely fit. Then, be honest. Honest with yourselves and honest with all those with whom you work. Then, have courage and make it enduring courage. Next, be bold, be daring, and when there is a choice to take the bold and daring course, make the very most always of what you've got, and never, never, never give in. So, that is an extract from Field Marshal Lloyd Harding of Petherton addressing the senior division in July 1953 when he was CIGS. So, I thought that was amazing. I couldn't wait to finish the book. To be honest, I'm going to do this book in bits probably, because there is so much in here that is just gold. I love it. There's bits in there that I think if you were to change them to business, if you would change them to sport, I think those things are incredibly transferable, if you want to call them that. I do think that these are words that I think I've kind of said similar things myself. So integrity is something I'm definitely going to champion going forward. Courage, I would say courage slash composure for me. But yeah, courage. Fitness is not something I've spoken about, but yeah, I like fitness. The initiative, so decisiveness, undaunted willpower. Then you got your knowledge, your judgment, and your team spirit. So yeah, I just thought it was absolutely amazing. I read it and I thought, wow, I've got to speak about that. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading this book. I'll finish the book and then I'm gonna read some more bits from it. There's tons in there to go through. But yeah, if anyone's got any recommendations of books, anything that's worth reading, anything that's good, I'm gonna try and find some good research papers as well, because I need to start looking more into for my PhD. I need to start looking more into different studies that have been done and basically see how different they all are, because I'm reading so much that is so different from so many different people. So yeah, if anyone's got any recommendations of anything good, then please send it my way, because I want to read them, I want to go through them, I want to review them, I want to assess them, talk about them, put them in my research, and yeah, let's find the answers. So thank you, and yeah, speak to you soon. I'll come back with some more cool stuff real soon.